see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the man who takes refuge in him. Oh, fear the Lord, you his saints. Oh, magnify the Lord with me, and let us exalt his name together. Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good. I sought the Lord, and he answered me and delivered me from all my fears. Those who look to him are radiant, and their faces shall never be ashamed. Oh, magnify the Lord with me, and let us exalt his name together. Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good. As for a man, his days are like grass. He flourishes like a flower of the field, for the wind passes over it, and it is gone. The Lord is merciful and gracious, slow to anger and abounding in steadfast love. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me. Bless his holy name. Bless his holy name. The Lord has established his throne in the heavens, and his kingdom rules over all. As far as the east is from the west, so far does he remove our transgressions from us. The Lord is merciful and gracious, slow to anger and abounding in steadfast love. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me. Bless his holy name. Bless his holy name. Bless the Lord, O you his angels. Bless the Lord, all his hosts. Bless the Lord, all his works. Bless the Lord, O my soul. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me. Bless his holy name. Bless his holy name. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me. in the Lord are like Mount Zion, which cannot be moved, but abides forever. For the scepter of wickedness shall not rest on the land allotted to the righteous, lest the righteous stretch out their hands to do wrong. As the mountains surround Jerusalem, so the Lord surrounds his people from this time forth and forevermore. Do good, O Lord, to those who are good, and to those who are upright in their hearts. But those who turn aside to their crooked ways, the Lord will lead away with evildoers. Peace be upon Israel. For the scepter of wickedness shall not rest on the land allotted to the righteous, lest the righteous stretch out their hands to do wrong. As the mountains surround Jerusalem, so the Lord surrounds his people from this time forth and forevermore. As the mountains surround Jerusalem, so the Lord surrounds his people from this time forth and forevermore. As the mountains surround Jerusalem, so the Lord surrounds his people from this. Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the man who takes refuge in him. Oh, fear the Lord, you his saints. Oh, magnify the Lord His name together. Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good. I sought the Lord, and He answered me and delivered me from all my fears. Those who look to Him are radiant, and their faces shall never be ashamed. Oh, magnify the Lord with me, and let us exalt His name. Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good. As for a man, his days are like grass. He flourishes like a flower of the field, for the wind passes over it, and it is gone. The Lord is merciful. Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Wednesday. Brad here with WYSIWYG Ministries. I hope you're having a blessed day wherever, whenever you're watching this Bible study, get together, prayer gathering, Christ uplifting, thingamajig shindig. I hope you're having a blessed day. Clink. Let's take a swig of coffee or tea or whatever morning beverage suits your fancy. We are going to be continuing on, guys, in the book of Matthew. I got all kinds of notes here. We're going to be in Matthew 6, and I'm hoping to kind of get through at least 3 of these sections, not to like get through them just to say, well, we pushed through and we moved on. No, but I think that a lot of this stuff is going to be personal things for you, and I want to hit the main topics. I want to dig in a little bit, maybe show you guys a few things that maybe you haven't thought of. Maybe there's some things that we just have blown right over the top, have not really either understood, or nobody told us, or they told us in a funny way or a way we didn't understand. And I want to dig in because there's some serious meat and potatoes here in terms of how you should be living your spiritual life and your physical life here on earth right now. You guys, all of you guys, me, all of us. And I think that we're going to start out with one of the things that we largely ignore. All right. So we shouldn't. We're going to check it out. Let me scroll to the top, see who's here in the chat. By the way, don't forget to hit thumbs up. Only about half of you done that. So come on, folks. Only 15. You got to click that little like button, and don't forget to make a comment of some kind, because that does trigger the algorithm in YouTube land to tell people, oh, you guys like this video, you're watching it, great, now we'll finally send out notifications. So let's scroll to the top. Let's see, Jen was here first. Jen beat you out. Danny Thrive, my gracious, the world is cattywampus this morning. Good morning to Tammy, Steve, Pepper Liam, Thomas Pearson III, Java Mama, BP Devo, AZ. Good morning to Thomas Pearson, Java Mama, Lucy C. Username already taken. Tanya, good morning to Joy, Pepper Leah. Let's see, you guys are chatting. Jeanette, let's see. Good morning. Tensi, good morning to you. Did you all have snow? We did, and we do, and we still do. I think Krista said it was 14 degrees last night. We had a fire going, 14. That's chilly. Chilly for November 1st. So
Good morning to you all. Clink. Let's take a swig of coffee and get to business. All righty, folks. Let's read, and then we're going to unpack, okay? Matthew chapter 6. We're going to start in verse 19. No, I take that back. We're starting earlier, verse 16. Matthew chapter 6, verse 16. And when you fast, do not look gloomy as the hypocrites, or like the hypocrites, for they disfigure their faces, that their fasting may be seen by others. Truly, I say to you, they have received their reward. But when you fast, anoint your head and wash your face, that your fasting may not be seen by others, but by your Father who is in secret. And your Father who sees in secret will reward you. Do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth where moth and rust destroy and where thieves break in and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroys and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will also be. The eye is the lamp of the body. So if your eye is healthy, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eye is bad, your whole body will be full of darkness. If, then, the light in you is darkness, how great is the darkness? No one can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and money. All right. I'm going to stop there. If we have time, I'll keep going. I have notes for the rest of the chapter, but I want to make sure that we're not just blowing past this stuff and not really considering what it's like for you, Steve, what it's like for me, Brad, Meg, Becky, all of us, what it's really like. Not words on a page that's just some kind of book that, those are good ideas, or bobblehead Brad talking on YouTube. What does this really look like in your life? Because if we believe what is here, if we really do herald Jesus as God, as Jesus, then we should be doing what he says, right? I mean, it's kind of a tenet of being called a Christian. Don't you think? Don't forget the thumbs up, folks. A few of you, come on now. All right, let's look at verse 16 right off the bat. And when you fast, all right, folks, that second word is going to get a lot of us, isn't it? And I know that a lot of you folks have medical issues that fasting might be a problem. Well, we're going to talk about that. What is really fasting? What is not? What is considered something else, but you can do it as a fast? But what is it that fasting really is? Because that word right there, when you fast, not if you fast. I mean, truthfully, how many of us here, and I'm not asking you to chime in on this part because I don't want to embarrass anybody, because I know that most of us don't fast. But truthfully, how many of us say, you know what? I make an intentional effort and I fast once a month. Only 12 times a year. 12 times a year, I specifically set aside food and say, I'm not going to do this because God is more important than the food that I eat, and I want him to know that I'm serious about him, and I want to be able to focus on God during that time. I want not to be heralded among men as some spiritual person, some person who's, oh my gosh, they're so Christian. Ah, look how great they are. No, I'm doing it because I want to be closer to God, and I want him to know that I love him and I trust him and I put my faith in him. That's what fasting is. Now, I'm not going to try to condemn anybody. I got no stones to throw. I live in a glass house just like you guys do. But let's look at this really. Really. This is not optional in terms of Jesus saying, hey, it might be a good idea if. Sure would be nice. I mean, hey, if you think about it. It doesn't say that, does it? WYSIWYG, what you see is what you get. And when you fast, that's an assumption that you are going to be doing it. And then he goes on to tell you how you're going to go about doing it. Okay? When you fast, do not look gloomy as the hypocrites, for their faces are disfigured, and their fasting may be seen by others. I tell you, they've received their reward. They already got it, pal. You already got whatever you're going to get. And I see the numbers dropping. It's funny because I know when we hit on a topic like this, a lot of people go, I can't do it, I'm out. Well, let's talk about that. We're going to talk about that because fasting does not mean that, oh my gosh, I'm going to jump into a crazy long, week-long fast, and I'm not even going to talk to my doctor. I'm not even going to find out if I can physically do it. I'm just going to jump in, and then I crash and burn, 4 hours in, I don't do it, and then I feel horrible, I feel guilty, and I feel like I've just failed, and then I don't want to do it again. Okay? Well, that's not probably the best way to go about this. Let's look at what it is first, okay? Let's look at what it is. Fasting. Now, biblically, that is food. I know that there are many people who will say, well, I fast, I think somebody said chocolate for Lent. Okay, but that's not biblical fasting. That's another kind of fast. Fine. And you know what? Great, honestly, good for you. If you have an issue with chocolate and you just love chocolate, and oh my gosh, I love chocolate. And I'm saying I'm giving it up for you, God, because I love you more than I love chocolate. Great. But that should be in addition to the biblical definition of fasting. In addition to. Not as a substitute for. Are you seeing that? Because it doesn't say here, whatever you really, really like, give that up. No, the definition, if you go through the Bible, it's food. And that's what it is. Now, if you have, obviously if you've talked to your doctor and your doctor says don't do it, well then okay, but you may, if you so desired to seek how you can go about fasting, maybe there are ways that you can say, all right, God, well, talk to my doctor. My doctor says I've got a bad way here. I can't do 24 hours of fasting. Well, what about one meal? Biblical fasting is food. It's not just withholding. Withholding is in addition to a wider application, but it's not biblical in terms of how it was shown to us here. Now, I know that everybody wants to find a workaround because we don't like this. I know. I'm telling you, folks, I know that it's like, well, what if I just gave up TV shows that I really like? That should be in addition to. Now, again, going back, if you have physical issues and you've talked to your doctor, and your doctor says don't do it, 24 hours is bad for you, your blood sugar is going to drop. Well, guess what? Maybe you can say, well, I'll skip this meal and see if that's okay, because this is an important part of the life of a believer, and not just giving up gun smoke or whatever biblical, somebody was calling there. I'm going to shut that off if I can. Yeah, there we go. It's not simply withholding stuff. And if you look at the definitions, that's what it is. It's food. Now, like I said again, you can give other things up in addition to, and that is also awesome. But when you look at what the Bible shows as fasting, it's not, I'll give up practicing my game of soccer, or I'll give up playing with my synthesizers for a month, or I'll give up playing guitar. It's the example, and I should say it that way. The example that we see is food. Okay? Ha! Steve Ganink, you're right, man. That's a funny, good point. Fasting from CNN for about 10 years, but that doesn't count. Exactly. There are other things. I mean, fasting from CNN is generally good for your body and your soul anyway. But here's the thing. This is food. Unless you really physically can't do it, then that's what this is. And I always recommend anything dealing with health, you talk to your doctor. Because I'm not going to be the one who is responsible for you getting sick. Now, the truth is, this is a sticky subject, because the truth is most of us could do it, but we just say, I can't because I tried and it stunk and I was hungry and I didn't want to, and then I stopped. That's the truth for most of us. And so what I would recommend is, if you are able to, and I mean that whenever I say if you are able, that means you've talked to your doctor, everything's good. If you are able, then start small. Don't do some gigantic thing that you know you're not going to be able to accomplish, because you don't want to just get beat down by failure. The whole idea, guys, is that you are saying to God, I value you more than food, which to these people was life itself. That's a big deal. You can't skate around the example we're given here in the Bible. It's food. However, are there other kinds of fasting, which I wanted to get to? And it seems like everybody wanted to jump on me and say, hey, there's other kind of fasting. And yeah, it is withholding. Well, it is, but the example we're given here in the Bible is food. Now, are there other kinds of fasting? Sure, absolutely. It's not a replacement for the example we're given here in the Bible, but addition. It's an addition. So, you guys can try to read around whatever you want to read around, but I'm just telling you, if you look at what the Bible says, it doesn't say, you know what, I'm gonna give up fishing for the month of Lent. It doesn't say that. When it talks about fasting, it's always food. In the biblical examples. Now, I know, again, everybody's going to say, well, I can't, or I blah, blah, blah. That's between you and God, and I'm not going to throw stones. I'm not. I'm just saying, don't try to skate around it because it's inconvenient or we don't like it. That's the big thing. That's, when you talk about fasting, are you saying, okay, I have here the example of food. So instead, giving up my TV shows during Lent is equal to the idea that God is my source of life. I can't live without my Game of Thrones. It's kind of not the same thing as food, is it? You do whatever God's telling you to do when it comes to this stuff. But if you, I'll tell you this. When Jesus says, and when you fast, that's not if, it's when. So you do with that however you want to do with that. But to me, I read it simply how it is. So now let's talk about some of the benefits of fasting. For those of you who have done a real food fast, I don't even care if it's for one lunch. If you're like, God, I love you more than lunch, I'm going to give up lunch and I'm going for it. I've talked to my doctor. Doctor said, okay, you're good to go. How many of you guys have done that? Because I have done some fasting. Sometimes I've done fasting where it started out, honestly, as a sickness. I got sick. One of the times I got sick with COVID, and I lost a ton of weight. But then at some point, like 3 days in, I just wasn't really that hungry. And I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to commit this time to God. And I went I think it was like a day or day and a half more after that I really was like able to eat. And for me, that was a long time. Oh my gosh. I'm a big boy. So when you fast, I'll say this, guys. Make sure that you're telling God, you're talking to God, you're praying to God and saying, hey, look, this time, this sustenance that I'm giving up, I'm giving it for you so that you can see that I'm so I don't even know how you would say it. I am so committed. I'm enamored. I love you. I want you to know that you're more important to me than food. And what happens, guys, is when you start praying in this fasting period, some amazing things happen. It's like your prayer life comes into a clarity that is hard to describe. And that's another reason why you can't substitute fasting for chocolate, or you can't substitute, a real fast. Those are other fasts. We'll call them like the other fasts. You can still fast those. Like if you really like a thing, you can fast that and say, God, I'm giving you this time. But that's another reason why I think spiritually something happens when you are not eating food and you're combining that with prayer and you're connecting to God in a way that is difficult to even describe. Something happens and clarity, focus, amazingly tight understanding happens, and a communication happens between you and God that I think really, really is manifest specifically when you're not having food. Now, I can't even describe it if you've never done it. If you've never done it, you won't understand. It's like, let me see if I can give a stab at it. Remember back in the days of cassette tapes where you'd buy a cassette and that was the music, and you'd go into the store and you'd get your cassette and then pop it in. And then it sounded great. It sounded awesome. You loved it. And then CDs came along, and CDs sounded vastly better than cassette tapes. It wasn't even the same thing. Or when you were watching remember the old newscasts in 4, or it was like a square, and the actual the resolution was great, and you thought, wow, I can't even believe that we get to watch TV all the time, and it sounds really great and looks good. until all of a sudden HD came around. And then all of a sudden, boy, oh boy, this is really in focus. It's like that. There's something that happens that there's an immense amount of clarity, depth, and vivid awareness. Let me see if I can put it that way. That happens when you actually fast. Now, again, you can fast whatever you want, but the biblical example is giving up food so that you can spend time in clarity with God. That's what it is. I mean, okay, Diane is asking, it sounds like you're saying that there's a difference between a fast and a sacrifice. Yes, absolutely. 100%. Fasting is an act. A sacrifice is something that you intentionally do. Well, you know what? Maybe the lines are blurred. That's interesting, Diane. That's something I would have to honestly think about. It sounds like that because when you fast, you are giving something up. You're giving up your food. But it's not like a sacrifice where you're saying, oh God, I'm giving, $1,000 to the church. It's not the same thing there, but you most certainly are still giving something up. That's interesting. I think that I'm going to have to chew on that. Diane, good point. Anyway, I didn't really expect for this to become that. I did not think that we would have such a hard time with 2 verses. Ladies and gents, fasting obviously has hit a bell with us. We must have a hard time with it. We must have a really hard time with it. Do you guys know what the Day of Atonement is for Jewish people? Does anybody know what the Day of Atonement is? By the way, I want to go back here and read Jen's comment from Strong's Concordance. Fasting, Strong's Concordance, for those who may not have one, nesturo, ne tuo, to abstain from food and drink either entirely if it's for a single day or customary and choice nourishment if it's several days. It always points to food. It always points to food. Why? There's something spiritual that happens when you say, God, you are my sustenance. You're my sustenance. Boy, oh boy, I hope I didn't step on toes earlier just by reading the scripture and saying what it said. Because it's hard to skate around the words of Jesus. You can't just go, well, he didn't mean me. Certainly he didn't mean me. I'm not giving up a lunch. And when you fast, it didn't say, and when you fast from TV, food. Anyway, the Day of Atonement, guys, if you've ever had any experience with Judaism, there's one of the high holy days, which is the Day of Atonement, which is when you are atoned, when you make right with God. In the past, it involved sacrifices and a feast, and there's all kinds of stuff that I don't have time to get into now. But one of the things that you do during the Day of Atonement, the feast doesn't happen till after, and you're going to hear why. The feast happens later. The reason why is because you fast for 24 hours. That's part of it. And the only reason that anybody would not fast is if they have an actual physical problem. Not, oh my gosh, my physical problem is an addiction to Cheetos and Chunky Monkey ice cream. No. The physical problem would be, I'm going to go into a sugar problem if I even miss a meal. And again, that goes through your doctor. You talk to your doctor. You make sure that you're not physically going to get a problem going. But the Day of Atonement, right? And everybody it's not optional. So you got to remember back here, when you're seeing Jesus saying, this is what you should do. Not if, but when. And then here's a part we didn't really get to. We got a few more minutes. Read after this. I'm going to read this section again because it's only 2 verses. And when you fast, do not look gloomy like the hypocrites, for they disfigure their faces, that their fasting may be seen by others. This is just funny. Can you imagine, like if you rolled into work on Monday and on Sunday you said you looked horrible, like you got your butt kicked and you were in a wrestling match and you're all horrible, and people asking, "What's wrong, man? You look horrible." I fasted from Game of Thrones. I didn't watch Game of Thrones all weekend for the Lord. Really? That would be a funny scene. Anyway, truly I say to you that they have received their reward. But when you fast, anoint your head and wash your face, that your fasting may not be seen by others, but by your Father who is in secret. Okay. And then there's a period there, and then the last part of this chapter, or this paragraph rather. And your Father who is and your Father who sees in secret will reward you. Will. And remember, we're going back to those rewards that I cannot define. I cannot define. What happened to our BP Devo? He disappeared. Huh. Anyway, we got more notes, guys. There's a lot more. I really wish that we could have got to, tomorrow we're going to be dealing with stuff. And let me tell you what, if here's the thing, guys. Okay. Here, if you've stuck around, it looks like there's 40 of you here. Delaney B., Game of Thrones is a TV show that you don't want to watch. I was being ridiculous to make a ridiculous point. It's TV show that's like a fantasy TV show. I don't even think I think it's done. I think it's made, but they made it for like 10 years or something goofy. And it's really hyper sexualized and it's really backstabbing bad. You don't want to watch it. Trust me. It's at one point when it first came out and nobody knew what it was, Krista and I watched a little bit and we were like, oh, nope, that's not it. We don't want this. It was like, wow, I didn't realize TV could be like that. So anyway, Danny Thrive is asking, could you be storing points in heaven? Well, Danny, how do you define rewards? Because we have read in the past few days, Jesus is saying you will get rewards in heaven. What are they? Do you want to call them points? I guess you could call them points, but that seems kind of not good enough. Now, what we were talking about a few days ago, are you doing good things that God's told you to do because you want to get these blessings in heaven or points or rewards? I would challenge you to think like this. I'm not doing the stuff that God told me to do to get blessings, but doggone it, won't it be great if they happen as a byproduct of something he already told me to do, and he already enabled me to do, and he already blessed me with the ability to do? Wouldn't it be awesome if those rewards just were the biggest surprise ever? Like you get to heaven and Jesus is like, hey, you remember that time that you blah, 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 blah? Yeah. Well, I kind of remember. It seems, yeah, I think I remember. He goes, yeah, you were doing that for me. Oh, guys. Can you imagine what it would be like to have a conversation with Jesus and you're just like, well, that guy was cold and I needed to do something. I couldn't just leave him there. He needed a blanket. It was cold out. I couldn't just walk by and say, well, he's just going to use that money for blah, blah, blah. And Jesus goes, that was me. You didn't know it, but it was me. Oh, my heavens, people. Can you imagine when he goes, by the way, here's a blessing, and you weren't expecting it. You weren't thinking, I'm doing this to get blessings. I'm doing this to get rewards. I'm doing this to get stuff. We're going to talk about stuff tomorrow because it's a liar. Stuff. It's a distraction. It's temporary stuff. All of this, even the sweet singing fish. It's just stuff. It's all going to go away. It's a distraction. We need to be focused on using stuff as a tool that's temporary. Okay? Tomorrow, we're going to get to it, all right? So there is it's like a bonus for doing your job. Yes, Danny, absolutely. You're already, yes, good analogy. Thank you. Good call, bro. Wanted to say extreme thank you for those of you guys who will help out, and you know who you are, and I'm grateful because trust me, without your help, this would not be happening, and I mean that sincerely because things have been getting weird with the economy, and it's actually getting really hard to find my regular work, like hard to find it. So thank you, really. And by the way, working on a new song. This is going to be awesome, folks. This new song, okay, just to give you a little hint, it's kind of like, you know, the old hymns that are like the serious hymns. They're serious and they're stately, but they're like in a minor key. They're cool. And they're serious, but it's an old hymn. Combine that maybe with a little bit of a rockin' kind of vibe, but maybe even like something you would hear maybe. I don't even going to go further. You got to wait and see. This thing is pretty awesome. So anyway, let's pray, and then we're going to get on with our day, and we'll be back tomorrow, and we're going to talk about stuff because it's just a temporary tool, and we shouldn't be worshiping temporary tools. All right, let's pray. Father God, thank you so very much for how you love us. Lord, help us to seriously consider what you're asking us to do when it comes to fasting. Give us strength if the answer is to move ahead after we've talked to physicians who know if we're able. But give us strength to do it if we are able. We love you, Jesus. Amen. By the way, guys, don't forget you can go over to the WYSIWYG Ministries site and there's a forum there. Share your prayer needs there. I'm not saying don't share them here. I'm just saying that there's much more dialogue happening over there. So, that said, have an awesome day, and I'm going to get to work here. See ya. Bye.
My God, earnestly I seek you. My soul thirsts for you. My flesh faints for you, as in a dry and weary land. So I will bless you as long as I live, long as I live in your name. I will lift up my hands, so I will bless you as long as I live, long as I live in your name. I will lift up my hands, but the king shall rejoice in God. All who swear by him shall exult, for the mouths of liars will be stopped, as in a dry and weary land. So I will bless you as long